So Bravely Default was just announced, an HD remaster coming out exclusively for the Switch 2. Yeah, this is from Square Enix themselves. Exclusively on the Switch 2. It's not coming out on the PC or the PS5 or the Xbox. This is Switch 2 only. Kind of surprised that it's not coming out on the Switch 1. You know, I mean, this is a remake of a 3DS game after all, but it is coming out on June the 5th, 2025, the same day as the Switch 2, and I do want to tell you all about it today, and I definitely do think that's worth the sub, as I try my hardest to hit 100,000 subscribers. If you help, your like, and your sub, I just know that I can get there. So this is one of my favorite games of all time, easily one of my favorite games back on the original 3DS, because I have a lot to say about this game, because I've just loved it so much. I put easily like 200 something hours into the original game. This is a Team Asano game, and he does all the Bravely games. There's 4 Heroes of Light, Bravely Default, Bravely Second, and then Bravely Default 2, and it was actually the inspiration for the Octopath series as well. The game was a huge hit, selling more than 3 million copies worldwide, so I am just thrilled about this. This is classic Final Fantasy in all but name. In fact, when he was approached to create this game, he wanted to create a Final Fantasy game, but then he was like, you know what, I kind of want to create my own legacy, I want to do my own thing, and at the time, back when, in like 2010, 2011, JRPGs were not selling that well worldwide. This was during the Operation Rainfall time, the end of the Wii, the beginning of the PS3, when we were begging and pleading to get games over here, literally sending in physical letters, emailing campaigns, doing Amazon campaigns, all sorts of different stuff to get RPGs over here, and this is another game that we kind of had to beg for back then. But I am so glad that that ship has turned around and that JRPGs are back on the rise, because this is just fantastic. This features a world map with an airship that you can go over. This has turn-based encounters, tons of different towns, tons of different locations, job classes. There's over 20 different jobs here. If you like games like Final Fantasy V, then this here is the game for you. Rather than getting jobs through like crystals and things like that though, you gain jobs through asterisks, which is essentially like every boss holds their own asterisk, and once you defeat that boss, then you'll gain their power and you'll be able to, you know, utilize their job class or whatever. And it's really cool because some of these bosses, they're not just like, you know, huge big baddies, then you never see them again. They actually have their own storylines, and everybody is voiced. Not only are your characters voiced, but the villains are voiced too. So it's really a very fully fleshed out game, especially for the 3DS. They really did this one well. So I am surprised that they are going to be remastering it, because it feels like it was already kind of like perfect back on the 3DS, but I guess it is on like a dead system now, so it is great that they're bringing it over here. The combat system is a little bit different. If you played Octopath, then you know what this game is all about. It uses the Brave and the Default system, where you can Brave and then use up to 4 different attacks, like in a single turn, or you can Default and you can defend and then accumulate more attacks for use later. So you kind of have to like figure out what you want to do. Like, you want to go ahead and Brave during all the random encounters and just, you know, slaughter them in 2 seconds, and then you really have to think about it during the harder boss fights right there. So whenever this game first came out in Japan, a lot of Japanese players actually complained about it. Like, there was quite a bit of complaints about it, so they ended up creating a brand new version of the game. This was, you know, kind of on the infancy of DLC and things like that, but they ended up creating a brand new version called Bravely Default for the sequel, which included over 100 different adjustments and improvements, more save slots, additional difficulty levels that you could change at any time that you want to, auto-saving options, addition of new cutscenes and things like that, new gameplay events, the ability to turn up the speed of the game, fast forwarding. This was one of the first games ever created that allowed you to turn off encounters or turn them on and to fast forward through encounters. This was a new thing back then, and they introduced it here. This game single-handedly changed the way that we look at RPGs because of that. Like nowadays we take things like fast forward completely for granted, but back then people were like, whoa, you could fast forward a battle? What is that? Like, it was crazy. They also added in new subtitles, multiple languages, and then they released that as called For the Sequel, because the sequel for Bravely Default was already in development, so they were like, hey, this is the stuff that's going to be in the sequel. So, like, this is really freaking cool. And then that version was the one that we ended up getting here in the West as well. So we knew that Team Asano was doing something this year. He put out a tweet saying, you know, be on the lookout for something. We didn't know exactly what it was, but now we know. It was this. This is what we're getting, but it also makes me kind of wonder, why aren't we getting a remake of this game? Why a remaster? Why are we getting a remake of this game? Like I said, it's kind of already perfect, except for some parts that do need to be remade, which is the last half of the game. The first half of the game is great. I mean, the whole game is great. I love the game, I really do. But the last half of the game has some questionable things. Like, you pretty much go on like Groundhog Day and you repeat yourself the same thing over and over and over again. And not just like once, not just twice, not just 3 times, 4 I'm serious, y'all. 4 times. You have to like repeat yourself doing these same things over and over and over again. And I kind of wish that they would switch that, change that. You know, even if it just said, hey, this is a remaster, but, you know, the last half of the game has been changed. You know what I mean? Do something like that. That would be really cool. Another thing that I think is kind of odd is, yeah, this is the first Bravely Default game, but it's not the first game in this series. That honor belongs to something called 4 Heroes of Light, which came out for the Nintendo DS, which didn't have any of these improvements that Bravely Default did. It doesn't have the speed up, it doesn't have the voice acting or the encounter off or things like that. And I really did enjoy that game, but if there's anything that needs a remake, it is 4 Heroes of Light. Like, oh my god. It has issues like you can't target who you want to. Your party is continually split up all the time. It's kind of ridiculous. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but boo, man, it needs a remake. And if they're going to go back to the beginning, like, really, go back to the beginning, you know? Why don't you redo 4 Heroes of Light? And then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? There were 2 games released on the Nintendo 3DS. There was this one, and there was Bravely Second. And they're pretty much like almost direct sequels to one another. So why is this a package deal? If you're just going to be remaking, you know, this 3DS game, why don't you package in both Bravely Default and Bravely Second? Like, that would be an amazing thing to do and really put this series on the map. So I am glad to see that Bravely Default is here to stay, that it hasn't just died with Bravely Default 2 back on the Switch, that they're doing more games in this series. But I'm just kind of questioning their motivations, I suppose. Like, why is it not a package deal? Why didn't they do 4 Heroes of Light? Why are they not remaking the last 4 chapters? Like, what is going on here? I'm happy that it's here, don't get me wrong. I really do love this game, and I cannot wait to play it, and I will be playing it on the Switch too, whenever it comes out, but I just think that there's more to it. Maybe we'll just have to wait. We'll have to wait and see that these other games will be coming. But now I want to hear from you. How do you feel about the Bravely series? How do you feel about this announcement? And the Switch 2, let's just still talk and chat about all that. And yeah, can't wait to hear from you, and have a good day.